Good afternoon, everybody. It's Thursday night. It's 6 o'clock, and we all know what that means. No, it's not time for dinner. It's time to listen to Arnie's Fantasy World of Sports on Thursday nights. Yes, it is. So here we go. It was great to be on the air with you this morning at 10 o'clock. I'm enjoying that slot a lot. I tell you, though, having two shows in one day, you got to really dig for that material, and you got to do it quick. So we're going to go over some afternoon games during the show today. We got some more players to talk about that we didn't talk about this morning. Can't do everything in one show, right? And I'll be watching a little minor league ball tonight after my show's over. So we'll keep you posted on those minor leaguers. I tell you, looking at some players that we didn't look at this morning. How about Kevin Newman for the Pirates? Yeah, Kevin Newman. He's hitting .347 this year in just 75 at-bats. The Pirates, Thursday night, will lead him off. Yeah, the batting order for the Pirates game tonight is out. They play the Brewers at 7:05, and their batting order, Kevin Newman, shortstop, leading off. Gregory Polanco, second. Starling Marte, third. Bell, fourth. Brian Reynolds, fifth. Colin Moran, sixth. Elias Diaz, seven. Adam Frazier dropped all the way from first to eighth, playing second base. And Joe Musgrove is pitching tonight. Now, Newman, that's an interesting little move. And another move here that I think is interesting, a player that to watch, is Brian Reynolds. Reynolds has been playing every day, really, for the Pirates. Over his last 5 games, he's 8 for 19. That's a .421 average. Now, he's only hit 1 homer and only driven in 5 runs during that span, but he's playing almost every day, if not every day. He's getting that, what's it called? Opportunity. And so if you are in need of an outfielder, you could do a lot worse than Brian Reynolds. And if you're in need of a shortstop, you could probably do a lot worse than Kevin Newman. Both playing with the Pirates, both starting tonight against Milwaukee. By the way, the lineup for the Brewers tonight in that game, and of course pitching Chase Anderson for Milwaukee, Joe Musgrove for the Pirates. The Mariners will go at it this way. Ben Gamel is leading off and playing left field. Christian Yelich is playing right field. Lorenzo Cain in center. Mike Moustakas cleaning up and playing third base. Yasmani Grandal at catcher. Keston Hiura at second base. Eric Thames at first. Orlando Arcia at shortstop. And, of course, Anderson is batting ninth. It seems like Ben Gamel is getting more and more playing time as we go forward in the season, doesn't it? And I wonder if that might continue. Gamel came over in the trade for Santana in the offseason. He's hitting .260, 4 home runs, 14 RBIs. He scored 21 runs in fairly limited playing time, but he is leading off tonight for Milwaukee. And another player on that team that just really intrigues me, and he just doesn't get talked about. In fact, it's almost as if he's, is overlooked the right word? A lot of people don't seem to want him. I've offered him some trades. Mike Moustakas, he's hitting .256, but listen to these numbers. 32 runs scored, 13 home runs, 32 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, third base, second base eligible. And folks, fantasy baseball is all about numbers. It's not about names, okay? You might have players in given years, and I'll tell you a good one to say that about is Mookie Betts. Last year Mookie Betts was number 1 in fantasy. The year before that, he was average. This year, he's not at the top of the heap. Don't get so tied up in name. Look at the numbers. Moustakas' numbers at third base are comparable to Matt Chapman. They really are. .256, 32 runs, 13 homers, 32 RBIs. Let's look at Chapman real quick. Very comparable, and the Chapman's hitting .264, 35 runs scored, 14 home runs, 32 RBIs, and no stolen bases. So you could argue that Moustakas is actually a better play in fantasy because of the fact he's multiple positional eligible and he has stolen bases. Chapman won't steal any bases. Okay? If he does, it'll be because nobody's looking, right? Really grand theft, I'm telling you. And I'm not knocking Chapman, I'm just promoting Moustakas. Certainly comparable and worthy of consideration. And, he could be had probably on the cheap. Another player that I talked about a little bit this morning, but I don't think nearly enough, and I want to dig deep a little bit, is the Cincinnati Reds star, Derek Dietrich. Yeah, how about Derek Dietrich? And what a year he's having. I'm telling you, over his last 5 games, he's 7 for 18 with 5 home runs and 9 RBIs. That's Derek Dietrich. That's a 389 average, folks. That's a player you could have on your team. He's first base, second base, outfield. I mean, where doesn't he play? And he's going to be playing, it seems like, every day. That's what the Reds have been doing here of late, employing him every day. He played against the left-hander yesterday. So why wouldn't we think he could play regularly going forward? Now, my only concern about Dietrich is another player, and that's Scooter Gennett. But Scooter is at least 2 or 3 weeks away. If you've got Derek Dietrich, play him. And it may be time to sell high. Sell high on Derek Dietrich. And who could you sell high? Could you buy low on another player? I got a player you might could buy low on. Here you go. Mallex Smith. Mallex Smith, if you look at his season numbers, he's batting only .201. But he does have 13 stolen bases. He does have 20 runs scored, and you know he missed a good chunk of the beginning of the season. You also know that Seattle has just gone absolutely to the cliffs of, despair here lately. Starting the year for the first few weeks in first place in the American League West, now in last place in the American League West, and pretty much firmly settled there in last place. Let's look at what Mallex Smith has done over his last 3 games. Small sample size, I grant you, but it's worthy of note. First of all, he is 7 for his last 11. 7 for 11. That's a batting average of .636, okay? More significantly, he has driven in 5 runs and he has stolen 5 bases. He's been promoted up to the leadoff spot in Seattle. And Seattle's not going to win. So what are they going to say? Hey, Mallex, run. Run Mallex all you want to because we're not going to win anyway. I can just see Mallex Smith stealing 70 bags this year, and even though he didn't play a full season. Yeah. So I think if you've got a Derek Dietrich, a trade for a Mallex Smith makes perfect sense. You're selling Dietrich high, you're buying Smith low. It's called fantasy baseball economics. That's what it is, and that's what we're about on this show, giving you some things to think about as you go forward. I've got some pitchers I want to talk about, but before I do that, there are 3 afternoon games. Let's talk about those. We'll intermittently talk about those as we go through our show today, okay? This afternoon in Philadelphia, the Cardinals took on the Phillies. And you'd have to say, if you're a Cardinals fan, the month of May has not been good. Okay? It's not been good at all. And with nothing going on very good for Cardinal fans this month, well, this afternoon, finally something went right. The Cardinals win over the Phillies at Citizens Bank Park by a score of 5-3. Give you a little detail about that game. And I watched this game with the Cardinals leading 2-0 in the bottom of the 4th. The Cardinal manager, Mike Schilt, elected to intentionally walk Rhys Hoskins to load the bases with only 1 out following a Bryce Harper double. Okay? What happened after that? Cesar Hernandez followed with a run-scoring fielder's choice, but starter Dakota Hudson avoided any further damage by then getting Scott Kingery to pop out. Now, 2 innings later, the Cardinals, still up just 2-1, they faced an identical situation and made the same exact decision. After a 1-out double by Bryce Harper, the Cardinals intentionally walked Hoskins to load the bases for Cesar Hernandez. This time, though, the Phillies' second baseman ripped a 104.6 mile per hour line drive toward the middle, but shortstop Paul DeJong, who has been slumping at the plate, snagged it and quickly tagged Harper for an inning-ending double play. Now, after all that excitement, after holding the Phillies to just 1 run total in those 2 bases loaded, 1-out situations, the Redbirds, they got some insurance of their own in the top of the 7th inning, courtesy of a 2-run homer by Jed Gurko and a pinch hit solo shot from Matt Carpenter. Marcell Ozuna and Matt Wieters also hit solo homers of their own in the 2nd inning, matching the Cardinals' output for the years, hitting 4 home runs in 1 game, and the final score there in St. Louis this afternoon, in Philadelphia this afternoon, the Cardinals 5, the Phillies 3. Here's what it sounded like when Jed Gyorko stepped to the plate.
Jed Gyorko with a home run on Saturday off the bench against the Atlanta Braves, and that's his lone homer hit this year. How about one more right here? That's what I was thinking. It's a high fly ball out to deep left, and yes, sir, he's done it. You can see it coming. You can feel it. On a 2-0 pitch, he smoked it in the seats in left, and the Cardinals get a 2-run bomb off the bat of Jed Gyorko. You can see it coming.
Much needed runs in the later innings.
4-1 Cardinal lead.
Hanging slider. Called it earlier today. He's going to hang one of those eventually, and someone's going to hit it. Wasn't the curveball. Ended up being the slider.
You also said earlier a lot of pitches are belt high with the umpire, and I thought that's Jed Gyorko territory.
So Gyorko, what a great game for him today. And Gyorko, like you said, that's courtesy of you two. Gyorko came off the bench earlier in the weekend, last weekend, with a home run. Gyorko is only hitting 191 on the season, but he did have that home run on the 25th against Atlanta. Had a pinch hit single against the Phillies 2 days ago. Today started the game, went 1 for 3 with a homer and 2 RBIs. So a big lift for Jed Gyorko and the St. Louis Cardinals as they win in Philadelphia 5-3. Speaking of the Cardinals, as I just happened to lead into this, told you I want to talk about a few pitchers. One, a current Cardinal, and then next, a former Cardinal. First, the current Cardinal, Alex Reyes. You know, Reyes has been a top pitching prospect now for the last couple of seasons, but injuries have derailed and prevented him from establishing himself as a star at the major league level. We all know that, okay? He is supposed to be starting for Triple-A Memphis, and he has looked sharp in a pair of starts for High-A Palm Beach. For High-A Palm Beach, 2 starts, he's compiled a 1.93 ERA, 11 strikeouts, only 3 walks in 9.1 innings. Okay, let's assume he checks out okay after throwing his pitches for Palm Beach on Tuesday in his next start at AAA. All right, he could be cleared to join the Cardinals for his next start. All right, so let's keep our eye on Alex Reyes for the Cardinals to see how he does. Now, the problem with Reyes, it seems like every time he takes 1 step forward, the next thing you know, he's taking 2 steps back. So I'm not saying go out and put him on your team right now. I'm just saying take a look at his start coming up at AAA Memphis. Pending that, then yeah, you may want to take a flyer on Alex Reyes. So that's a current Cardinal. How about a former Cardinal? Lance Lynn for Texas. You think, oh, well, okay, that's kind of boring vanilla, right? He left St. Louis. He wound up going to the Yankees. That didn't work out too well, even though he got a nice clean shave while he was there. He's grown the beard back. Now he's pitching in Texas. Not exactly the most ideal place for a starting pitcher, right? Right? Well, let's look at the last 4 starts for Lance Lynn. May 10th, he pitched at Houston. 7 innings, 3 runs, 8 strikeouts. May 16th, at Kansas City. 7 innings, 6 hits, 1 run, 5 strikeouts. May 21st, home against Seattle. 7 innings, 2 runs, 1 walk, 11 strikeouts. And on the 27th, at Seattle, 6 innings, 3 walks, 10 strikeouts. His next start is Saturday at home against Kansas City. You could do worse than Lance Lynn. You really could. And he has pitched really well of late. He's had 4 straight quality starts. His second straight effort with double-digit strikeouts, even though he got the loss, is all because Texas didn't score any runs for him. Okay? So, if you're in need of a starting pitcher, he's playing at home against the Royals on Saturday, I'd say take a flyer on Lance Lynn. Now, you guys know I follow the rookies. And a rookie that kind of snuck up on me is Devin Smeltzer for Cleveland. He really did. The lefty came on in his first start of the year 2 days ago against Milwaukee, pitched 6 innings, and it was pretty good.
That's the Major League debut, and he gets Lorenzo K. Ryan Braun, you could sit too. Not a bad first inning. That's awesome. That's the good stuff right there, the family stuff. Always gets me. Scoreless, MVP up. Whoa! Christian Yelich, not a lot of tape to be looking at here. They sit him down, 6 scoreless in 7 innings. Here's an emotional Smeltzer on his debut.